We've already presented you with the brand new Mercedes EQV through a classic review accompanied by a detailed driving report, and today we would like to take you for a ride on the highway. We want to see what this huge van consumes at 100, 120, 140, and 160 kilometers per hour. We want to see how quickly the facelift can charge from 10 to 80%. How is its travel comfort? How effectively are the assistance systems functioning within this brand new Mercedes-Benz EQV vehicle model? Perhaps you should check to confirm if you have the ticket for this test drive. That would be your subscription to Simply Electric. It won't cost you anything, but it really helps us immensely in terms of growth as we build together with you. Now let's not waste any time and jump right into the brand new Mercedes EQV. We started our journey with the Mercedes EQV heading for the A20, which is our main route today. The test track is set in a northerly direction towards Stralsund and Greifswald, and initially, we want to have a discussion with you about the starting point. We've got the EQV 300 in the long version, and there's also an extra long version that's 23 centimeters longer. We have a 150 kilowatt, 204 horsepower electric motor sitting on the front axle, which also drives the front axle, and it's supposed to accelerate it from 0 to 100 in 12.1 seconds. The top speed is 140 kilometers per hour, or with the 160 kilometers per hour package, it becomes 160 kilometers per hour. Today, we are enjoying sunny weather with an outside temperature ranging from 5 to 6 degrees. Our vehicle is equipped with 17-inch summer wheels and Stefan, which...
Tire width, you ask? It's 245.
It's the same at the front as well as the back, which means we don't have mixed tires on board and will be soon. We'll drive through Neubrandenburg and reset the consumption meter. We'll then measure the urban fuel consumption over a distance of 6 to 7 kilometers, which will help us gauge its efficiency in city driving conditions. After that, we drive another 6 to 7 kilometers to the highway and then determine an overland consumption with you. And then, of course, it starts with the highway values: 100, 120, 140, 160 kilometers per hour average speed, always on about 20 kilometer sections via the onboard computer. Reading off, we have now reached Neubrandenburg, and I'm resetting the onboard computer, which means that as we pass through Neubrandenburg over a distance of 67 kilometers, we can keep an eye on what the EQV 300 consumes. We've smoothly rolled through the city of Neubrandenburg. Stefan, please show it to us on the display, and let's take a closer look at the consumption figures together. We have traveled 7 kilometers here with an average speed of 52 kilometers per hour combined with a consumption rate of 15.8 kilowatt hours, 15.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Yeah, I'll reset it now because we also want to measure the consumption a bit on country roads to the highway. But where I really got annoyed was with the ID .7. GTX Tourer video. There was again one of you folks who left a comment there. Sure, that wouldn't truly be honest. The measurement would not be accurate for the ID .7 GTX Tourer as it passes through Neubrandenburg, and he would drive a Skoda Enyaq RS himself, which basically has the same drive, same technology, same weight, just a slightly different body style, and then somehow consumes 16, 17, 18 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So without any flux, sometimes I wonder, who are these trolls?
It's so grim.
I'm sorry to say this and call him a troll, but what am I supposed to do here now? I'm driving through the city right now. I'll be showing you the kilometers traveled, and I'll also display the average speed at which I'm traveling. Additionally, the car will indicate the average fuel consumption. If anything, it must be the onboard computer calculating incorrectly, not me. And how am I supposed to be dishonest about that? So, feel free to explain in the comments what I should do differently, because I'm really putting in my utmost effort here to produce decent content for you. Also with consumption values, so you have some reference points. Now here at 5.5 degrees outside temperature, what an EQV then consumes. I honestly have no personal interest whatsoever in giving preference to one car over another among the more than 700 videos. What benefit do I get from this? We're almost at the highway, Stefan. Look over there and we've got the next consumption value. So, as it happens, we've again driven 7 kilometers with an average speed of 61 kilometers per hour, because there are many 80 zones and a few villages, and we have a consumption of 21.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That's merely a guideline, since over a distance of 7 kilometers, naturally it can fluctuate somewhat up and down. Alright, we are now getting onto the A20 highway, and we'll check back shortly once we've reached the first speed of 100 kilometers per hour to determine the consumption at an average speed of 100 kilometers per hour over 20 kilometers. We fixed it at 100 kilometers per hour. I'll reset the value with you, and we now want to determine the consumption over the next 20 kilometers at an average of 100 kilometers per hour. Normally, we determine our consumption values by driving using the adaptive cruise control system, or if that's not available, by operating with a standard cruise control. Unfortunately, we can't do that here today because our Mercedes EQV appears to have some kind of bug or malfunction in the control unit of the right electric sliding door, which in turn also has an impact on the operation of the electric tailgate. Consequently, this means that he's showing an error message here that the sliding door and the tailgate are open. And for some reason or another, it doesn't permit the cruise control system or adaptive cruise control to function properly here. Yes, that's why we're doing it manually, but I don't think it's a huge problem now. But where there is a problem, we usually speed up to 100 kilometers per hour before we have the consumption value with you. Let's talk about it. How do the assistance systems in the respective vehicle work? The Mercedes EQV has received improvements in model maintenance by not only having a standard lane keeping assistant active that gently decelerates and gives you a warning when you actually drift out of your assigned lane, but it got an active lane keeping assistant combined with a steering assistant. So it keeps the center of the lane. And as it aligns a bit with the Pika level, I think that was urgently necessary because, of course, people who spend so much money. The EQV starts at 59,000 euros, so it's kind of a bare bones model. But with all the extras, especially with the 300 in a decent trim, you're quickly looking at 70, 80, 90,000 euros, or possibly even more than that. And naturally, you definitely want to have modern assistance systems on board with you. And yes, our test subject does have it, but unfortunately, I'm unable to demonstrate it because it's currently not operational. I have been informed by several of my other colleagues who have thoroughly tested the car that it is now supposed to function at a level comparable to what you would typically find in modern passenger vehicles, for instance. Also with a predictive control system that relies on cameras and various navigation data to anticipate when speed limits are coming up, then allowing the EQV to coast or recuperate energy, to then, in principle, adjust to the change speed at the speed limit sign. Once the speed limit ends, it smoothly accelerates back to the previously set speed, thus ensuring maximum driving comfort and convenience in the semi-autonomous mode for the driver, allowing them to relax and enjoy their journey with peace of mind. Yeah, it's a pity we can't make it today. That's just how life is sometimes. Sometimes you're lucky and things work out, other times you're not and they don't. However, we also know well from Mercedes that typically everything works seamlessly, so today we're just taking it a little more relaxed than usual. Indulgent Mercedes. We already have an initial consumption value, and after covering 20 kilometers, we are looking at an average consumption rate of precisely 24.4 kilowatt hours per every 100 kilometers. Yes, I will accelerate up to a consistent speed of 120 kilometers per hour right away, and we plan to reset the onboard computer while involving you in the process to observe what it will record for an average speed of 120 kilometers per hour over the span of 20 kilometers in terms of energy consumption. A good electric car should unfailingly feature advanced route planning abilities, ideally paired with detailed charging planning to enhance the driving experience. Let's give that a try in combination with the voice system integrated here in the vehicle by simply saying, "Hey Mercedes,
What can I do for you?
drive us to Munich, specifically to Viktualien Markt 1 if you can."
Calculating the route to Viktualien Markt 1, located in Munich's Altstadt-Lehel area.
Here you can clearly see that it progresses at a very brisk and efficient pace. He's now also working on creating the relevant charging plan, which indicates that he's searching for the appropriate charging stations along the planned route, so that we are comfortably guided with precise and exact time indications on when to start and end our charging sessions. You can also see very beautifully that the Mercedes constantly shows charging stations along the planned route, indicating how many charging stations are conveniently available on the path. Well, it's just an amazing medium, and here you also get a very comprehensive overview of where it's charging, and accordingly you can precisely determine here in the Mercedes for how long. Then of course you can specify the desired state of charge with which you intend to arrive at the charging station and also at your final destination. That's really convenient because some of you might say, man, I'd rather have that safety buffer, while others might prefer to arrive with 1 or 2% battery level. Or like us, sometimes we just want to arrive at our destination with 50% so we can easily get out of the city and have a little buffer for the next fast charger. And that's how you can skillfully and effectively customize the system to align with the driver's specific needs and preferences, perfectly ensuring it suits their requirements. You saw, it's quick and straightforward. You can also replace individual charging stations whenever needed. Unfortunately, Mercedes doesn't offer a feature if you've set up a special tariff with a charging provider. You only want to charge at NBW, Allegro, Fastnet, or Ionity. That might be another improvement option for the future to be able to make a pre-selection there as well. But other than that, I believe it's one of the best routing and charging planning tools currently available in the EV sector, which we certainly want to highlight alongside the American supercar manufacturer with its own charging network. We have the next consumption figure for our journey, maintaining a consistent speed of 120 kilometers per hour throughout. You can truly observe this quite clearly in the data presented here. And to be more specific, the consumption has now increased up to 31.5 kilowatt hours per every 100 kilometers. That is certainly substantial, but we're also moving a significant frontal area along with a considerable weight. That's over 2.7 tons when empty, the weight. All right. Let's go ahead and accelerate to 140 kilometers per hour. I am going to reset the onboard computer now, and we will take a look over the next 20 kilometers to find out how the consumption behaves at a speed of 140 kilometers per hour. When you're traveling, you'll certainly want to have a high-quality sound system on board to enhance your experience. There's the basic system that we have right here in the EQV, and it delivers quite good sound. However, perhaps the mids and highs don't stand out as crisply and clearly as they do with the optional Burmester sound system, which costs an extra 1,000 euros. However, I believe that people who are really into audio, and I certainly count myself in that group, will find themselves better served and more satisfied than with the standard series. We're slowly but surely reaching the next consumption value. We've been driving 20 kilometers consistently at 140 kilometers per hour, and as you can see, the consumption is 40.4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Certainly, the consumption rises exponentially because we have to move a considerable mass, and we also possess a sizable frontal area that significantly encounters the wind, which creates extra aerodynamic resistance. Certainly, and that's just the nature of vans and commercial vehicles. When we drive at higher speeds, we inevitably tend to generate extremely high fuel consumption levels, which significantly impact efficiency and operational costs over time. We will soon make the U-turn here on the highway and then head back in the other direction at 160 kilometers per hour once more, as this car is equipped with the 160 kilometers per hour package, which allows it to comfortably drive at that speed. And that might be interesting for some individuals because they might want to drive a bit faster when heading home or somewhere else if they find themselves in a hurry. And of course, he'd like to really enjoy some proper thrust here with the booster rocket. We also want to find out the final consumption with you, so I'll speed up to 160 kilometers per hour. You can see this very nicely here. This is also the top speed, which we then want to try to maintain continuously for the next 20 kilometers. To drive at a speed of 160 kilometers per hour to find out what the EQV consumes, maybe we'll set a brand new record, or I'm quite curious. The Mercedes EQV provides ample space for up to 8 passengers along with their luggage. You have 1,000 liters of trunk volume available, or even up to 4,630 liters of storage capacity. But naturally, you want to travel in the most comfortable way possible. And what is deemed comfortable travel can vary significantly, as it's always quite a subjective matter, of course. That means we want to provide you with a platform where you can find all the tested vehicles and to allow for thorough comparisons. For that purpose, we introduced Stefan's popometer some time ago to essentially establish full transparency among all the tested vehicles. And of course, we now want to find out on the highway for the long-distance drive, Stefan, how your gut feeling reacts today.
Yes, I have to say, I'm feeling very comfortable sitting here. This comfort is certainly also due to the extended wheelbase. It effortlessly glides over bumps, handling them with ease. It doesn't give your back any jarring sensations. It's really very comfortable to drive. The seats provide excellent support and hold me securely in place. The thigh support is more than adequate. You could comfortably take a nice, enjoyable long drive in this vehicle.
Exactly. In the EQV, we have the steel suspension installed. Optionally, you can also get air suspension. The Airmatic suspension will set you back a good 2,000 euros extra. I might even recommend opting for it if you often find yourself driving long distances, because I sincerely believe it absorbs bumps, ruts, and various other road irregularities even more smoothly thanks to its long 3.20 meters wheelbase. He does that very well and also very comfortably. You really have to give him that, but especially when you might also drive on demanding roads or some curvy sections. If you want to drive a bit more sportily with the EQV, the adaptive air suspension system provides an even greater range of flexibility for the ride, where you can achieve a firmer setup. If comfort is important to you and you frequently embark on long road trips, testing both suspension options can assist you in finding the most suitable fit. If possible, give it a try. Personally, I would definitely choose to invest the extra money for myself. I unfortunately didn't have that in my EQV back then. We were at Lake Balaton with the EQV, and I think on the long haul, it kind of adds a bit of icing on the cake for driving comfort. Or Steffi. We actually did it. We drove continuously at 160 kilometers per hour here with the EQV for a stretch of 20 kilometers long. The consumption rate is 52.9 kilowatt hours for every 100 kilometers, which is definitely quite ambitious, to put it mildly. I'll switch to sport mode now since we plan to measure the top speed soon. Afterwards, you'll have the chance to see the detailed consumption figures in the tables for more comprehensive insights of comparing the EQV. So as you can see, we achieve a 165 kilometers per hour top speed, and we currently have a battery level of 15%. Earlier he was briefly at 167, 168 kilometers per hour, I believe. So I think that's a very, very good value here with the top speed for such a van. Now you go ahead, take a detailed look at the tables and make a thorough comparison with the vehicle that was tested. We want to talk with you again about the power of the 150 kilowatt electric motor that drives the front axle. This is a 100 kilometer per hour zone. I'm currently in sport mode, you could say, and I'll perform a kickdown maneuver now, and then it accelerates to 120, reaching 130, and continues on to 140. I mean, sure, it's kind of unfair because the battery is low and it might not have maximum power right now, but 150. You could literally fry an egg on it.
Tranquil and completely at ease.
That's also something that really got on my nerves back then with the EQV Dot. I mean, you don't invest a significant amount of money into purchasing a Mercedes-Benz just to end up being, shall we say, quote-unquote, held back when it comes to performance capabilities, do you? Let's face it, 365 Newton-meters of torque isn't insignificant. Well, combustion engines or diesels don't necessarily have much more, but they just somehow have a different power at the top end. So when I think of a V-Class 220 diesel from my buddy, the 4MATIC, it takes off like a rocket at the top end, and I believe it goes over 400 horsepower. Yeah.
It's got real power.
And now you're switching to electric, you actually want to do something good, and then Yeah, like usually with electric cars, you get a push and a kick and it goes forward, but with the EQV, it goes exactly in the opposite direction. Like it's almost as if you're being penalized for deciding to drive electric. So I believe Mercedes truly needs to concentrate on ensuring that with their new EQV, which we all hope will be available soon, they make some necessary improvements, because that's just not characteristic of Mercedes at all. And right here in Germany, where we hopefully will continue to have free travel for a very, very long time and can still decide on most sections how fast we actually want to go, I'd like to be able to drive a bit faster with an EQV sometimes, wouldn't you agree? There's nothing against it. The suspension is great, the handling is great, yes it can. Mercedes can do all that, just not in the EQV, because it simply lacks the power and performance for it. We've arrived at the Ionity fast charging station, and at this point, we're preparing to carry out a comprehensive charging check alongside you while we're conveniently situated here at the Demmer Land rest stop area. The EQV is designed to be capable of charging at a peak rate of up to 210 kilowatts at maximum performance. Naturally, we also have the comprehensive support of the thermal management system here, that we get the maximum fast charging capability here. We arrived with 9% state of charge. He can also charge at a DC maximum of 110 kilowatts now, and of course, we want to try that out with you to see how long it takes him. 9% also shows on the pillar. It's now building up a nice charging peak. It should actually go up to 100, 700, 809 kilowatts accordingly. Under normal circumstances, it usually takes about a minute or so until it gradually ramps up to its full power capacity. You see here, he's doing it in stages. In the end, it's also about preserving the battery pack a bit and not immediately hitting it with full power. I truly believe that every driver of an electric vehicle fully understands that, and it genuinely makes perfect sense. In der ersten Minute, wie ihr seht, ist die Leistung schnell gestiegen und hat über beträchtliche 100 Kilowatt erreicht. Generally, we take advantage of the complimentary kilometers offered by Encharge specifically for charging. You can find Encharge in your web browser or as an app, where you have the opportunity to collect free kilometers through online shopping, challenges, or by rating charging stations. We've successfully managed to charge over 50,000 kilometers for free. After this, you can link Encharge to a charging card and utilize it wherever the charging card is accepted, so you're able to make use of it in those compatible locations. You can basically unload the free miles. That's it, if you have the corresponding free miles credit with the charging provider. You don't have to switch back and forth, it all works with just a one-time connection, and that's really a super practical feature, right, Stefan?
Good, right? We've already saved through this.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable, so please do take a look in the video description. I've included a link to Encharge right there just for you. 8 minutes later, we're at 23%. It's holding at 108 kilowatts. Steadily. We haven't seen 110 just yet, but who knows, maybe it will come. The charging time is also the perfect opportunity to show you the Mercedes EQV from the outside again. Feel free to click the link in the video description. There, you'll also find the link to the review with the detailed driving report, where you get all the information about our test subject. We have a beautiful fabric dye here. What's it called again?
The name for it is Kalahari Gold.
I believe metallic really suits him, and particularly when he's in the sunlight, the mineral elements of the metallic finish shine and stand out incredibly beautifully. I feel that the Mercedes has turned out absolutely gorgeous now, especially with the new facelift. Could potentially use a little more charging power in some specific spots or areas, actually. We'll find that out in a bit as well. I don't want to give away anything from the video yet. At the front, it's also got a nice, distinct shape with its grille that can also be illuminated along the edge. Something I truly appreciate about this is that we finally have the multi-beam LED headlights included, which come with those advanced matrix-like technology features, allowing them to illuminate targeted areas using high beams, without dazzling the oncoming traffic. The only thing that might seem a bit puny are the 17-inch rims. Optionally, there are also 18-inch ones or surely even larger tires available on the aftermarket, because with such a big car and a 3.20-meter wheelbase, I think you can fit some decent tires in those wheel arches, right? What do you say, Stefan?
I believe that would definitely look really nice.
We offer it in the long version with a total length of 5.14 meters. Additionally, there's an extra long version available, which is further extended by an additional 23 centimeters at the back, providing even more ample storage space. The extended model offers 4,630 liters. I think with the extra long version, another 1,000 liters more, so that's quite a lot. You could likely assist in organizing 1 or 2 relocations with that. In 14 minutes, we hit 35% at 110 kilowatts, showing the peak. As per the manufacturer's info, we've recharged almost 25 kilowatt hours. How nice if he could charge at 200 kilowatts now, huh?
That would be a dream, especially with the big battery.
But it is expected in the future that the EQV will also be based on this new electric platform from Mercedes-Benz, featuring 800-volt technology, where you could probably, even in 20 minutes, charge the battery from 10 to 80%, and I also hope that we get larger battery packs because from my own experience with our EQV, feel free to check out the videos of various trips and road trips. It would be really nice to have a 120 or even 150 kilowatt hour battery so you could take a big van on an extended journey, comfortably carrying luggage and passengers without having to worry too much about running out of power on the road. Because we drove it empty with the consumption, basically with both of us and the camera equipment inside. So I would say roughly plus or minus 3 tons. But if you drive it at full load with 3.5 tons, I believe the consumption will look quite different, because then it does go up somewhat more. And just to emphasize once again, there's a brand new Tesla Model 3 charging at the Ionity station here, despite the fact that a supercharger is conveniently located just 5 kilometers away in Gutsko. Because you always say no, with a Tesla, I definitely don't charge at Ionity, I go and charge at the Tesla supercharger. Strangely enough, whenever we're at Ionity, we also run into Teslas. Well, something in your world can't be right. I think that's just rose-tinted Tesla fanboy chatter, isn't it? I mean, everyone charges where it's convenient or where they might have an interesting rate. And why shouldn't a Tesla also charge at Ionity? I mean, it's complete madness not to do it because it works well here. 51% after 22 minutes. We've now added 39.7 kilowatt hours, 113 kilowatts. See, like pre-facelift. I didn't mention it as I wasn't sure. However, yes, it's certainly not a standout when it comes to kilowatts, yet it is undeniably better than having only 110. 9 to 79%, 92 kilowatts. After 36 minutes, it just switched to 37. Yeah, so 31 minutes was most likely just a nice dream for me, as I mentioned to you all in the review. Or my bad memory, I'm turning 50 this year.
And we already have 700 videos, so you can definitely...
Yeah, but it's still kind of unprofessional. Someone just wrote that I'm like a reporter. Then I somehow expressed kilometers per hour verbally, just as plain old KMH, you know. The next person comments underneath, yeah, by the way, all trips should actually be 80%. 37 minutes. Yeah, 66 kilowatt hours recharged. It then states below that the stages must be at least 50 kilometers, otherwise those wouldn't be acceptable values. Sometimes I wonder why I even take your comments to heart, but it's because I'm with you with passion and dedication. And I'm not a reporter, nor am I a car tester. Instead, I'm just someone who shares the exciting experience of cars with you, and I show them to all of you. I share my opinion with you, and Stefan adds his perspective, as our aim is to entertain you a little more in the process. But this constant nitpicking, always suspecting something negative behind everything, somehow, whether it's the city drive, or if the fuel consumption is accurate or not. What else could it be if it's the computer? Either the onboard computer is broken, or the lens is cracked and showing the wrong number. But I believe neither. Let's get to the conclusion. I hope you've watched the review. With the test drive and today the consumption run with the charging check. Yes, Mercedes has visually improved many things, I think, especially here in the interior with the dashboard and also from the outside with the tail lights and the new front section. I really like all of it, especially the multi-beam LED headlights could be something for some of you. Certainly present a substantial advantage, as the intelligent lights, LED headlights with their high and low beam functions, had gradually become somewhat outdated over time. Yes, unfortunately, Mercedes missed the opportunity to give the car somehow more charging power, maybe even a bigger battery pack, more energy density to fit into the existing space, and Yeah, perhaps also allowing the EQV to have the ability to tow a trailer. I would have found it very good and very important, and in the end, you might even be relatively limited with the payload. Why do people pretend 800 kilos of payload with 8 seats, that's 8 people without luggage? So, from that point, the EQV in its current form has some areas that need work. For those interested in such a car, I believe it could still be the best electric van for up to 8 people. Certainly, the ID Buzz with a long wheelbase as an alternative. We definitely need to test that one again soon. There's also a GTX variant even with all-wheel drive. That would be great, and of course, it charges much faster too. In just 26 minutes, it charges from 10 to 80%. It comes with a 91 kilowatt-hour battery, of which 86 kilowatt-hours are available for use. Yes, I do think Mercedes has managed to beautify a great car once again, but unfortunately, it just hasn't quite brought it fully into the technological landscape of today. That means 800 volts, larger battery, fast charging ability, and efficiency, I think, is simply due to the design and the overall weight. Because when you have 3 or even 3.5 tons standing in the wind here, then unfortunately quite a few electric cars still encounter a lot of difficulties in managing efficiently, challenging to reach good efficiency. However, if you compare it to a combustion engine, electric cars show quite impressive energy efficiency, which stands as a significant advantage. Yeah, I'd definitely say, feel free to stop by your nearest Mercedes-Benz dealer anytime. Take a look at the Mercedes EQV, test drive it, try out the new one, and maybe during the transition phase until the new model with 800-volt technology arrives, it's an interesting van for you. And with that, we've come to the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed watching it. Make sure to give it a thumbs up. Please double check if you're already part of the Einfacher Elektrisch community. We would be absolutely thrilled if you support us by subscribing. It's completely free for you, but it's a tremendous help for us to keep growing. Thank you very much for watching. Stay healthy and see you soon. Yours, Ollie. You, Stefan.
What I was meaning was...
It's really quite nice here with this new glow cooler we've got installed. Just take a look at how beautifully it lights up at night. Doesn't it look rather classy, don't you think?
They really made something fancy.
And when you combine that with the multi-beam LED, it's essentially like the latest and hottest trend right now. That's probably one of those impressive glow grills, more like a glossy and glowing grill design, if you will.